You are listening to Racing Stories, a podcast that inspires enthusiasts to hear and learn about what it takes to get into and succeed in motorsport. My name is Danny Mattess, your host. I sit down with people who work, drive, live and breathe to compete. Brought to you by Real Wheels Media. Welcome to this episode of the Real Wheels Media's Racing Stories podcast. Today we say hello to Jonathan Ogden, racing driver, disabled athlete advocate, and motor industry professional. Welcome, John.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. So before we get into your current racing activities and thinking about your future, every good story has a memorable start. One morning, 12 years ago, you're age 12, your life dramatically changed. What's happened?
I woke up around I think it was November time. It was early November, and it was as simple as I wanted a glass of water because my throat was dry. And it's before school as well, so I was ready to go to school, and for some reason my legs were hurting quite bad, so I swung them around with my body. Put my feet on the ground, and instantly pain shot up them, and that was me out. It knocked me out straight away, and I hit my head on the side of my table. And yeah, after that, it was I had hypersensitivity in my legs, and I couldn't really move them for 2 years, nearly. No, just over 2 years, yeah.
Did anything lead up to that, or did it come as a complete shock out of the blue for you, John?
I've always had problems as I was a child. I was in and out of hospital when I was younger, especially like Lincoln Hospital. That's my local one.
Yeah.
To the point where I was in there. Was it 2010 or 2011 where the Japanese tsunami happened? I can't remember, but I vividly remember watching that on the TV in the hospital bed. So that's kind of how I time frame that. That was the problem with my hip. I still get problems with it now. But I was in there for about 3 months, I think, near enough. And then I came out and I couldn't really walk on my hip for a good few months. I've always had problems. It was kind of always brushed off as a boy who just wants to go home to play Xbox, I guess. It was never really taken too seriously, and I thought it was normal. I thought it was normal to have this much pain. Up until like 2014, I thought it was normal to be in agonizing pain daily. So because I was told that it's nothing to worry about, so I just kind of got on with it, if you know what I mean. It wasn't comfortable, but yeah.
So when the doctors, you and your family realised it was something much more serious than maybe growing pains or what you refer to as normal, what support or what actions were taken by those around you to focus minds on what this could be?
The first year was a big struggle. So the first few weeks, to be honest with you, because it was unexplainable. I mean, I was told I had gout, which for which for an 11-year-old is kind of a weird one. Obviously, it doesn't happen. Well, it can happen, but it's very, very rare. But it wasn't. Doctors didn't know what it was. They kept telling me it was all in my mind. And they kept trying to trick me into thinking it was in my mind. And obviously that didn't work because it wasn't. Yeah, it was kind of just a thing of we'll keep trying to get through this with my family and friends. My friends didn't know for weeks what had happened to me. A lot of them actually genuinely thought that I'd passed away because I had no contact with them. I didn't have my phone. I didn't really have. I don't think I had Facebook at the time because I can't remember at all. Didn't have Xbox Live. Didn't have anything like you probably have now to get in contact with them.
Okay.
it was only through one of my friends asking my sister, who went to the same school, after a few weeks of asking what was going on. And then I was allowed to get Xbox Live to then add them to talk to them, if you know what I mean. So it kind of,
Okay.
but it's weird because, yeah, a lot of people didn't know. I didn't really want people to know because I felt embarrassed,
Hmm.
but I wasn't hiding it. I just wasn't shouting about it.
So how did that affect schooling and just day to day getting around from A to B?
Well, I didn't get around it essentially. I had we're in a small little a attached house. My room was probably no bigger than what you can see behind me, probably even smaller actually. It could fit a bed, a desk, and a wardrobe, and that was it. Um, the room was twice the width of a single bed. So that gives you an idea of how, and it's probably the length of one and a half beds. So
Hmm.
obviously it's not that big. Um, I referred to it as my prison cell because I didn't leave it for, oh God, 6 months. I went to the bathroom, washed myself, everything like that in my room because I couldn't actually physically move my legs without being in excruciating pain. Um, so I didn't go to school for a year and a bit. I was homeschooled, but again, that was only once every no, twice every week or 3 times a week for an hour or so. So as you can imagine, I did kind of fall behind a bit.
Mm.
Um, Granted, it wasn't my final years at school, which is kind of a plus side to it, but it eventually affected my final years of school. But I was in the mindset then that this is my life now. Um, and it's a hard pill to swallow when you realize that you've gone from being fairly active. I wasn't extremely active, but I enjoyed doing like PE and all these kind of other sports and going out with my mates and stuff like that, to being confined to the same small walls with no contact with anyone other than my family. Well, immediate family.
Hmm. You haven't let that whole condition and that whole shock really of what you had to put up with and still to a degree, John, put up with today. You still did embrace racing. And if you can tell us a little bit about some of your earliest experiences of cars, racing, and friends that kept your hope alive, really, about having a future and having the future that you wanted.
Yeah, well, I started karting quite young with my friend Jordan, who's always been in the racing scene with me. He doesn't do racing himself now, but we did karting together in primary school. And then through secondary school we did quite a bit as well. And since we left school we've been doing it. We've done little karting championships and stuff like that. So we started karting together, but it got too expensive too quickly. And um I'm not from a racing background, and I'm not from a background of money either, which are the two key things for young racing, essentially, is you either need to have money or be from a racing background. If you've got both, you're winning. Even one is more than half the battle. Um, so that had to be packed in quite early, unfortunately. But
Mm-hmm.
my dad got me a Xbox 360 wheel and pedals, which I couldn't be dragged off. I absolutely loved it. I played games like Burnout 3, Dirt Rally games, stuff like that. Again, before, I think that was even before uh multiplayer on those kind of games was a thing. It was always single player. Forza Motorsport.
Mm-hmm.
Forza Motorsport 3 was the one that stands out the most. Um,
Remember that
and I,
one?
yeah, yeah, and I did loads of stuff with them. This was, when I was 6, 7. Um, so I just did that for years and years and years, and I absolutely loved it. And same with Mario Kart on the Wii. I pestered my family to get me the wheel, even though it did really nothing. You know what I mean? It was just that extra feeling. Uh,
yeah, it's been engaged with the game, isn't it? And holding on to those devices, those wheels, those gear sticks, those pedals, and just feeling connected to what's going on around you. In terms of sim racing, you didn't always stick to Mario Kart, and you did get into some quite serious competition with sim racing. So, a couple of questions around that, really, John. First of all, what did you learn from sim racing in terms of how to drive a car fast and well?
I mean, to drive it fast in the sim is is no easy feat because you've been stripped away from those extra elements that you need, and I do think you need that kind of it. So you're stripped away from the G-force, you're stripped away from the actual feel of the car on the road. Even though you can get some feedback on the sim, not really too much. And I think the biggest thing is your adrenaline. I think that like you still get some in the sim, don't get me wrong, but you don't get that feeling of going through a corner as quick as you physically can and the car being on the limit and you're there in real life compared to if you're going as fast as you can through the sim. You're thinking, oh, that was cool, I could do that. In real life, you're thinking, oh my God, if I get this wrong, this is bad. But you kind of have that confidence that you take from the sim to real life thinking, well, I know I can do it. There's, just build up to it. Again, with the sim, it's just building up, building and building up, and also practice because whoever you're racing against on the sim has unlimited time to practice, and so do you. So you got to maximize that as much as possible. I think I learned the most through lockdown because I could spend the most time on the sim then because we're in lockdown. It didn't really. I kind of turned that into my job instead, even though it wasn't really paying me. But I learned so much like racecraft as well, following someone closely, car control, stuff like that. Again, it doesn't always equate to real life, but it helps with the confidence when you get into a car thinking, I can control this. I know I can. It's just, can I control the adrenaline? Can I control the real life elements? And that's another thing, the elements, they change in real life all the time. In the sim, you can kind of set a line, you can set a basis and it will never change, which again helps as well.
Brilliant. So you did have quite a long list of achievements. I mean, I've got my stats here, but I don't know if you can remember them. But between 2021 and 2023, I'm looking at 120 races, 49 podiums. That's a heck of a podium ratio for 120 race starts, 14 wins, 10 fastest laps, 2 poles, and 3 championships. A pretty good clutch of achievement from sitting in a chair indoors without the G-forces.
Thank you. I mean, to be honest, I didn't know all of them. I didn't know the amount of races. I kind of it's cool. I think the thing that hurts me the most though is the low amount of poles. But it's something I'm trying to work on.
Although
But that is crazy.
you said about racecraft and how sim racing you can follow people and get the lines, and yes, okay, the conditions might be linear in the setting you've got, but clearly, even though the poles are perhaps standing at 2, 49 podiums has to be impressive, and you have to be pleased with that performance, surely, John.
Oh yeah, I mean 100%. Yeah, 100%. I am. I think it's also it's a nice feeling coming through the field, isn't it? Really, when you know that you've got to get to a certain position to win the championship. I mean, two of them definitely stand out to me. I think it was my first actually sim racing championship in a league I got. No, was it first or second? I got basically it was down to the last race,
Yep.
and I needed to finish 2 positions higher than I qualified.
Okay.
And I had at least 5 people ahead of me. So, and I knew that the 2 people ahead of me were more often than not quicker. So that really, really put some stress on it. I
Pressure.
believe actually, yeah, I believe it was OOR at Spa. I believe that is the one that stands out the most because I remember, actually, it was definitely because I remember the 2 guys, I got past the 2 people I needed to. So I was already back into the fight to win the championship, but there's still 2 people ahead of me
Yep.
who could win it equally. It was
Okay.
literally depending on who crossed the line first. Um, and they were just fighting so much that they were fighting at the end of the Kemmel Straight. You know, you got these chicanes. They were fighting so much that they were too busy with that. They were defending and attacking each other, and I just swooped in around it, and then just kept setting fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap. And I mean, it sticks out to my memory still now. So, you know, I do hold them quite close to my heart, I think, and memory, because again, I learned a lot about stress management and car control and just biding your time. I think it was a 90-minute race or something like that. It's not going to be. I think I backed off in the first few laps just to make sure I didn't get caught up and stuff like that. So it's just learning that it's not always. It's not always who dares wins, essentially.
Understood.
He goes well deep, and this is actually costing them both.
Oh, Ogden! Big boy Ogden, straight through on both of them. Well, after all that, the 1 hour race is over, and Ogden will cross the line to take the big old dubski, and I'll tell you something, he's bloody deserved it. That was a really good drive from Ogden to do that.
So the 2020s have been a new and very busy chapter in your story. What decisions did you take, and what changes did you make that brought you to where you are today, John, from the sim to the real world of racing, if you like?
It was a lot of, I mean, the sim helped me massively. The sim actually got me noticed. That was when kind of everything got flipped on its head. Because I got asked to do the HSA Speed Championship in 22. And then after that, opportunity after opportunity has just been rolling in. And that was just from sim racing. If you look at my Instagram page, I actually had to look at this at the start of the year, before I knew what I was going to do this year, which is Focus Cup. But before I knew what I was going to do this year, I was a bit lost on what I wanted to do, because I had funding taken away from me for a different championship. And I was a bit lost at what I wanted to do. And I did feel a bit down, because I thought I'd been leading up to, for the last 2 years, I've been building up and building up and building up. And now I don't know what to do. And I scrolled all the way down to my Instagram just to have a look again through some of the videos, through thinking, yeah, I can do this, can do this. And I got down to the bottom of my page, and it's my first picture I ever uploaded. And it says about how I've made this Instagram account as a hobby. And now there's a potential here to be a career. So it started off as just a little bit of fun. I didn't even tell anyone that I was doing this racing account for 6 months, because again, I felt embarrassed. I don't know what. Oh, well, I do know why, because I've always been judged and bullied through my entire life, and I didn't want that to affect me even more. This was before I did any league races, any sim racing races, or anything like that. I just thought I would join a league, start a page, and just see what happens. And then from there, I did a few leagues, did really well, got invited to do real life racing, and then I've been invited to do MX5s at Anglesey, which then led to going to Mexico, which is an insane opportunity. It led me to do Enduro KA, which I met the guys there, and we did a full season with them last year, and we had some really, really great results. Not always finished with great results due to mechanical problems and that, but the performance from a team perspective, it was unparalleled. It was just insane. And it's just led to a lot of opportunities, especially with I've got a scholarship opportunity now to go to the Philippines.
Right.
From it, which is fairly recent, which I'm very excited about. But again, that's all come from sim racing. So without my original hobby, I wouldn't have a potential career, which is insane to think, especially I think it's like 3 years now, 3 years since I started the Instagram.
Okay.
So
fantastic. So thanks so much, John, for sharing some of those earliest memories and the big part sim racing and that Xbox and those early games got you in terms of momentum and building up your confidence and racecraft. But the 2020s have been, as we've said, quite a big period of change for you. But aside from the cars and the racing, there were some personal things that you decided to change and made big strides with. So tell us about those.
Yeah, so through sim racing, obviously, I got invited to do real life racing. At the time I got invited to do that, I was, well, yeah, it's not fairly overweight. I was very overweight. I don't think it helped with having jobs I hated, having no idea what I wanted to do in the future. COVID as well. I mean, I know everyone blames COVID, but I think mine was already an issue before COVID, to be fair. I did go to the gym before, but nothing major. But yeah, I was definitely overweight, and I got to my biggest just before I got to my biggest thought I need to lose some weight. So I was pushing on, I believe I was pushing on 23 stone. And within, I got asked to race, and then I had basically 12 months to get, well, I didn't have to lose weight, but I knew that if I wanted to be the best I could be, I'd need to lose weight, especially being in the hill climb car. It only weighed a few 100 kilos. So if I weighed another 100 kilos, that's going to be a big issue. And obviously I weighed a lot more than that. So I really hit the gym hard and hit the weight loss hard, and lost over 11.5 stone in about 10 months.
So, John, thanks so much for giving us a lot of detail on your early start, really, with racing, karting, friends, some of the costs involved with that, and then some of your sim racing achievements as well. And having grit and determination is really quite important, but teamwork, as they say, also makes the dream work. So, in terms of supporting your journey, you've got some quite important brand partnerships with the Renegade Painter, a GoFundMe page, and a company called Late Night Coffee as well, some of your own merchandise. So tell us a bit about those so we can perhaps keep some links in the description and make people aware of all these other activities around your racing that are so important.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing is definitely go and check them all out with all the links. But the Renegade Painter, his name's Adam. He's a good friend of mine. We met at work. And he has a company that he just loves doing artwork and design and stuff like that. And I wanted to set up my own t-shirts. So you can see I'm wearing here.
Yep.
We've got some updated
Nice.
ones now as well. But this is like kind of like a team one, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
But I wanted to set it up. I didn't know how to do it, and I asked him because he already had a shop open. So I was like, "How do you do this? How do you do that?" And he stopped me pretty much straight away and said, "Look, I'll do it all for you. I'm going to set it all up, everything like that." And initially, he didn't want anything in return, which I mean, kind of speaks volumes about him. I mean, I try and be friends with people I think are going to support me, and I think that really cemented it in there. I mean, it couldn't have helped enough. He's made t-shirts for us. He's done lanyards. He's done loads of designs. He's come to quite a few of our races. He's always checking up on me. And same with vice versa. And it's really nice, especially with all the highs and lows that come with motorsport. He's one of my friends who's always been there, which is really nice to have. And also having his company support me as well, which again he didn't have to do. And also helping me along with racing as well by kind of giving me that leg up with partial funding and stuff like that. And it's really nice of him. And also I couldn't pick a better like person to work with because I just love all his artwork as well. I mean, all his current t-shirts and his current signs and everything like that, they are so good. I think, like I said, go definitely check him out. I think I'd be saying that anyway, even if it was helping me or not, because I think they're so good. Same with Late Night Coffee. I mean, I met Gareth years and years ago. He's a company from Gloucester. what they've actually just started now to do is business accounts. So you can actually, if you want to get coffee for your business, you can go through them. So again, it's definitely still check them out. But I met him through university. I didn't go to university. My friend Ollie did from school. And me and my friends are always really quite tight with each other. And I think most friends are. But I'd go and visit him at university, and his hallmate was Gareth, and then we became friends as well. And as soon as I said I was doing racing, he actually messaged me saying, "That's really cool. Let's get. Can I come to some of the events?" Like, yeah, definitely. And then he started this company, and then we started talking, and he wanted to start doing sponsorship and get the brand out there a bit more. And again, he helps me. I help him, and again, it's a brand I really believe in. We had the coffee at the event, so if you're ever at the events, come down and have a try of it.
Certainly sample it. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Again, it's so good. It helps me with keeping alert at the race weekends, because you go through so many highs and lows, like the adrenaline rush, and then it kind of cuts, and then you kind of got the adrenaline rush again. And I'm not saying the coffee keeps that going, but it's helping you keep alert. And also, I wasn't a massive coffee fan before having late night coffee, because I didn't like the way it tastes. But the way they've done I think the one that we have at the track is the sage one.
Okay.
There's like 5 different options you can have, but it honestly, it like changes the game. Like again, like I said, I wasn't a coffee drinker.
No.
But now
Coffee converts now.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not only doing fresh coffee, but also coffee converters. And again, they helped me, and I couldn't thank them enough. And the same, I work 2 jobs to help fundraising plus a sponsorship as well. So it's not like it's an easy game. Like I said earlier on, money is a huge factor. It's probably the biggest factor in motorsport. If you have money, you will survive, essentially. Obviously, you have talent, it helps, but you need the money first. And that's the hardest part. And I'm so grateful for these guys helping me. And like I said, I work 2 jobs. I work at a bar as well, Bar 11. They help me as well, which again, I couldn't be more grateful for. And it's just so nice, because I get to speak. I work at the bar, and I speak to the locals about it, and they come in after my race weekends and come and have a chat with me. And they come in half the time specifically to talk to me, which is really nice. I mean, it's a bit surreal, because I didn't see myself as like that kind of person, but I mean, I like talking about it, and they like talking about it as well, so it's really nice. And we help with all the events, and then again, I had to go fund me as well. I ran that initially. I was against it before I went to Mexico, but only because the pure fact is that, again, it was another one of those things where I felt embarrassed. But I'll speak. My friend Aiden, he's probably my biggest supporter. He comes to all the races. He even come to Mexico with me, especially, and with Jordan. So those 2 came. But Aiden comes to near enough every single event I go to and helps me out with everything. And he was like, "Well, you got nothing to lose," and he's completely right. And I put it out there, and the support I got from it actually helped me get to Mexico. Without it, I wouldn't have been able to go. So again, I set another one up. It's completely, if people want to, feel free to donate. It helps a lot, and I can't give back too much because I don't have the ability to do that. But I do put names on my helmet, so it's kind of like they're not just throwing money at someone who wants to do a hobby to become a career. It's so they're personally with me. And again, every time I put on my helmet, I always see those names. They remind me of why I'm here. And I've got a lot of surprise names on there. Jack Harvey, IndyCar driver. He's donated. So that was really kind of him. A friend from primary school who I didn't really speak to a lot. He's donated. Again, I hadn't spoke to him for years, and that was really nice of him. And my old boss, and family members who I didn't even know knew I did it, which again is really nice. And I got a few more names to add to the helmet.
Hmm.
One of my friends who I've made through sim racing when I first did my first league in my first race, Clark, he's from Canada.
Nice.
He's just recently donated, which again, I messaged him. He's just had his second child recently, and I was congratulating him on that. And I said, "Look, this is, you need to look after your family before you look after me."
Mm.
But he's so kind that like the generosity from people to help me achieve my dreams is so nice. And I think it's, again, not to toot my own trumpet so much, but I think it's because I'm showing the hard work that goes behind it. I'm not just asking for it and then lounging back. I'm still actively fighting
No,
to.
certainly. I mean, the results of your achievements really in terms of the support from within the racing community, a Canadian racing driver, but also outside of the community and old friendships and people that perhaps you wouldn't expect to be contributing and helping is really, really wonderful. And it's lovely to hear that, John, in your situation, you've clearly made an impression on these people for them to want to support you and stick by you. And that's just a wonderful part of your story and a wonderful thing to hear about. So your mantra is making the impossible possible. This year, because of all of the support and contributions many people have made to you and for you, you've got a full season in the Focus Cup. What about that series, the arrive and drive nature of it, perhaps has attracted you to commit to that real life racing series this year?
It's mainly the I think I had a little taste of it in 2023, and I felt like, yeah, I can do this. And it was really cool to be racing at the same weekend as GT Cup. Because that's what I aspired to go and do. I want to do GT racing, and it's really cool to look at that. And I wanted to challenge myself to a championship. I've never done a championship in real life. I've done a few on the sim, obviously.
And one of you on the sim.
Well, exactly, exactly. And I was trying to I want to try and replicate that in real life. I want to show that I'm not all talk. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't believe I could win it, if you know what I mean. It's a thing I'm deeply passionate about. And I think the nature of arrive and drive, you sit in the car, everyone's pretty much the same. It's only you can change the setup, and the setup's minute anyway. So it's all down on talent, and I think as well preparation. I think that's a big thing. And also it's, I mean, you couldn't rate, like, even though you're competitors and when the helmet's on, you're fighting each other, and it's tooth and nail for everyone. I think when everyone takes the helmets off, it's a really nice community to be around. I've been around a few toxic paddocks, and don't get me wrong, I think it's always good to have rivals and rivalry, and that really does help with the racing. But you don't really need to have it off track all the time. I think you can hold it. I think there's like reasonable grudges. But again, there's when you're off track, it's a really nice community to be around. And I think if there is any upset or anything like that, we all have the respect of each other to go and speak to each other and talk it out rather than instantly accusing and stuff like that.
Understood. So from humble but genuine beginnings, authentic beginnings with an Xbox and a sim kit, to success with competitive sim racing, support from friends both within and outside of racing, and now a commitment to a full season of racing in the Focus Cup, a really quite meteoric rise, if you'll forgive me for saying, John, just listening to your story and your experiences. So before we finish today, from all the experience you've gleaned and the challenges you've overcome, what wisdom and insights would you like to finish off by sharing for other people who perhaps have ideas, dreams, racing related or otherwise, but that they may be struggling to overcome some of their own challenges, maybe in their minds, in their bodies, in their finances, what would you want to leave or finish up today's podcast within some encouragements and some life hints, if you like, some life goals to encourage people to stick with it and work hard and achieve what they're aiming for?
I think, I think like you said it, I'm trying to show that the impossible is possible. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be a straight path there, and you're going to have obstacles absolutely everywhere, and they are going to want to stop you in your tracks. But I think if you have the determination to achieve something, it will come, no matter how many setbacks you have. And that's with anything really. Obviously I can only really speak from a motorsport and a motorsport background, and also a disabled background. My thoughts were, I'm never going to walk again. I'm never going to be able to leave my room again. This is the end. This is my life over already, essentially. To that, to then learning how to walk again, getting into sim racing back again, because again I had to learn how to walk again, so I couldn't use my legs. So I had to learn how to do that all again, which is a really weird feeling. To then doing real life racing, to then potentially going from a hobby to a career. And it's not been a short journey. I think it takes a lot of grit and determination, and also failure to learn from. I mean, it's not been as plain sailing as it might look. I mean, the sim racing stuff is when you put it like 3 championships and nearly every time I race, 1/3 of those times I've been on the podium. It's not been easy to get there, and I have a lot of. There's a reason why the other 2/3 are not there, because it's been, issues or something not out of my control. Same with real life. I mean, real life it's a lot heavier to take, I think, as I've learned more recently. But again, you kind of just have to pick yourself back up and believe you can do it. Else, there's as rough as it sounds, or as tough as it sounds, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else is. You've got to believe in yourself before anyone else can. And it's not given to you. I want to be a GT3 endurance straight racer. That is my absolute dream. Do I think I can get there? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be easy? Absolutely not. But I know what I need to do to get there, and I will do near enough anything to make sure I get there, or near enough anything to know that when it's all said and done, if I still haven't achieved my goal, that I've put everything towards it that I could, and I've left nothing on the table.
So hunger, belief, support network, commitment, and some hard work in between, and quite a bit of hard work in between. And you're living, breathing proof, John, with amongst all the other success stories and perhaps stories of challenge and even failure that what many people think could be impossible actually can be possible. So look, John, it's been fantastic speaking to you today. A very different story, and I think our audience will be able to take quite a bit from what you said across your whole life, really. I mean, you're still young in your 20s, and so much ahead of you to achieve and to work through and to build upon. And John, we wish you all the best for this year's Focus Cup 2024, full season there, and all the other activities as an advocate for disabled athletes, your GoFundMe page, and other media projects that you may well be working on that I would hope our audience will become followers of yours and watch with interest those things as they develop and build and are released publicly. So, John, thank you so much for your time today, and I for one will be watching with close interest your season, and all the best for 2024 and beyond.
Thank you very much, Danny. If I just can quickly add, if everything we spoke about on the podcast today, there is a documentary being made.
Oh, right, okay.
So everything. If you're more interested in that, keep an eye out on any socials and stuff like that. We're hoping it'll be out around end July time, August. We don't know yet. But just keep an eye out on my socials for that.
Yep.
And if you're interested, you can get an even deeper dive into that. Again, thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
And I hope some people can take away so some of their dreams and write down what they want to do and hopefully achieve them, or at least start going in the right direction.
Fantastic, John. No, thank you. And I just feel that you'll be an inspiration to a number of people watching and listening. And as I say, we wish you all the best for the future. Take care, John.
Take care. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you for watching this episode of the Racing Stories podcast, brought to you by Real Wheels Media, with me, your host, Danny Mattess. To share your story, contact us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok and X. To support our channel, please like, subscribe and share.